Okay. So page 3 for slope-intercept form and graphing with slope-intercept form. And then open up to the next empty page. And you're going to be typing in this one. There are two colors. There's either pink or there's yellow, so you can have either one. Just take one and pass it down. I'll pass that to you. Are they both the same? They're all the same. They're just, I didn't have enough pink, so I used just some yellow.
Oh, they're the same thing?
They're the same thing. Don't forget to number this page with page 3 at the top. So in the first box, labeled slope-intercept form, we're going to be breaking down that equation and then kind of re-putting it back together. You guys have already worked with this equation, but now you're going to know what each part specifically represents. So, how many of you have heard of slope-intercept form? Pierce has. Pierce and I have you? Yeah? Yes, you have? Okay, great. So, does anyone know what slope-intercept form looks like? Yeah, you ready? mx plus b, okay? So, we have y equals mx plus b. So, please write that down.
Watch out for the chicken's head.
All right. So M or A. So the only difference between my note sheet and yours is that yours has an A down here. And I had that because in some high schools they don't teach it MX plus B, they teach it AX plus B. I don't think it doesn't really matter. It really doesn't. But just for the sake, if you see it on the SAT or the MCAS, problems like that, you'll know what it's still called, okay? Before I go into this middle part, actually, when we were working in Unit 3, you guys used function notation a lot, and you actually, I think, felt pretty comfortable with that. So down here, y equals is the same thing as saying f of x. But we don't specifically know what that input is, okay? But you can still write this equation using f of x, and m could be a. Okay? They represent the same thing.
Oh, good, oh, good.
So with that being said, that first number, when we were graphing on desmos.com, what did that first number represent?
The positive relationship.
Right, the type of relationship or the type of slope, okay? So M represents slope. And what is that second number that Piercewood and I was talking about earlier? What does that represent?
Well, and then more.
Second number, how does it make the graph move?
Up or down.
Up or down, so below or above the origin, okay? So we call this the y-intercept because it intersects the y-axis. This is also the piece that you're going to plot first. Okay, so we have slope and we have the y-intercept. Everyone good with this? Moving on. Now we're going to practice graphing with a positive slope. So here you're already given the y-intercept and you're given the slope. So the y-intercept gets graphed first because, one, it's the easiest identifiable point on a graph. So it says b equals -1. Where is that going to go on our graph? It intersects the y-axis at -1. Where is that?
Like,
Do you want to come up? Sure.
Watch out for my rooster.
about there.
So this actually crosses through 0. So I want
it be over.
1 point at -1. Where is -1 on the y-axis?
Oh, wow.
It's the y-intercept. There you go. Okay, so everyone should put a point, thank you, at -1 on their y-axis, like Yaz did. What is the actual coordinate for this point?
0, 1.
0, 1, or 0, -1. So please write that underneath. Anytime you have a y-intercept, that x value is going to be 0, again, because it's on this middle line. Next, we're given our slope, and we're going to use this second to plot another point. So usually when we plot points, we always start from the origin. Here, though, because I want there to be a height of 3 and a width of 2 between my first point and my second point, I'm going to actually start at this point that I just plotted, okay? So from here, I'm going to use my slope 3/2, and I'm going to go up 3. 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to now go over to the right 2. 1, 2, and I'm going to plot a second point right there. Now, I could continue making other points, but in order to draw a straight line, I technically only need 2 of them, but I could keep going up 3, 1, 2, 3, and over 2, and plotting other points. I could also go down 3, 1, 2, 3, and to the left 2. All right. And then I would connect your 2 points or more with a straight line. Why is it important? You should be using a ruler for this too, okay?
Rulers for the weak.
Why is it important that we put arrows at the edge of our graphs?
So they know that's going on forever.
It goes on forever. So you'll notice that I have this new word wall up here. The arrows indicate that this is a continuous graph. It keeps going on forever, okay?
Indeed.
Indeed. All right, so now I've got my 2 points plotted. Let's write the equation now. Which number goes first? The b or the m? Y equals, right, because y equals mx plus b. So 3/2 is going to get written in first. So we have y equals 3/2 x. And then -1, again, goes at the end, because that's the y-intercept. Good. Now we're going to move on to graphing a slope that's negative. But we're going to create our own slope and our own y-intercept here. And what we're red.
Did you think that was here?
Exactly. Love me some Fleetwood Mac. They're class act.
I didn't even know who that was. They just had a catchy song.
Oh yeah, Fleetwood Mac. Oh, so good. All right. Someone give me a number smaller than 10.
9.
9. Okay. So we're going to do -9. Someone give me another number smaller than...
Is -9 even on the graph?
Yep. So someone give me a number that's smaller than 5.
4.
4. So our slope is -9/4. So again, we have height over width. And someone give me a higher positive number that's less than 10.
4.
Oh,
nine.
9. Okay. So we have a b value or a y-intercept of 9.
Easy.
On this one, let's write the equation first, okay? So which number would get written first again? Negative 9 over 4. So I have negative 9 over 4x. And then I write my plus 9. So a plus sign goes in between because this is a positive 9. What goes on my graph first? My slope or my y-intercept? Y-intercept, okay? Oh, you know what? I'm just realizing this graph only goes to 6.
That's what I said. It's even on the graph.
You're right. I thought it was a graph of 10. I always use graphs with 10. Why did I pick this one? All right. We can actually still use the slope, but let's change our y-intercept.
Lame.
Something less than 7.
6.
Okay. Plus 6. So now we're going to plot a point at positive 6 at our y-intercept. Okay, so where's that going to be?
At the very top.
At the very top, almost, except not here. It's going to be right here.
You could have done 7.
Yeah, but I don't like going to the outskirts of my graph. Okay.
Instead, you got that.
All right. So now, how am I going to use my slope to plot a second point? Where am I going to go?
Down.
How many?
9.
9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I've gone down 9, brought me to negative 3. Now where do I go?
4.
Which direction?
Right. No.
Why this way?
This is a positive.
It's a positive 4, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4. And now, because I can only fit these 2 points on my graph, I'm not going to worry about plotting more if I could, because I can't. So I'm going to connect these now with a straight line. Again, our y-intercept is 0, 6. So you're going to be using this process on your homework, okay? So this concludes our notes for today.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to pass out now, I think you're really going to like. I came up with this yesterday, and I'm very excited for it.
Also, I had questions on the challenge problem.
Okay. So Yaz, if you want to stay at your class for a moment, I can hopefully answer those.
It's just like, this is like a 0 and
Okay.
stuff. N equals to 0 and I didn't know what to do.
She just wants to go around whatever she can.
It's like, it doesn't make sense at all.
With the challenge problems, you know.
Alright, so we're going to do that after. Alright.
Where are my manners? How was your weekend, Miss Dulcie?
It was good.
You Bostonians got me talking like a hippie.
A hippie.
Yeah.
Alright, so you guys have different colored cards. Everyone should have a yellow y equals card. On one side it says y equals, on the other side it says f of x equals. You're welcome to use either, but I think y equals will be more beneficial for you, okay? So we have our y equals. That's definitely a part of our equation. Then you should also have a pink x card. So in every time that I ask you to make an equation using these cards, you're going to have yellow and pink. Now, the orange cards, you'll notice, have on the line side an M in the corner, like this. Okay. M in the corner. And those mean that these are the cards that are going to represent slope. Okay?
I don't have an X card. Yeah, I do.
Pink card, yep. The green cards they have B's written in the corner, and these represent the y equals, or no, not the y equals, the y-intercept, okay? So your orange cards are going to go in between the yellow and the pink, and then the green cards are going to go after the pink. So you should then have an equation that has y equals mx plus or minus b. Okay? All right. So I'm going to tell you what the slope is and what the y-intercept is, and you're going to move the cards around to create the equation. All right. The first equation should have a slope of -5 with a y-intercept of +10. A slope of -5 and a y-intercept of +10. Good. 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 All right. New orange and green cards. Your new equation has a slope of 1/2 and a y-intercept of 0. 1/2 is the slope, 0 is the y-intercept. Good. What does it mean if your graph is crossing the y-axis through 0? Where is it going through? The origin. Good. Okay. All right. Now, show me a equation that has a slope of -4/3 and +3. +3 is the y-intercept. Beautiful. Nicely done. Oh, we have so much time, you guys. Great. All right, one more. Show me the equation of a line that has a slope of 2 and a y-intercept of -5. Slope of 2 and a y-intercept of -5. Good, good.
Oh, so that would -5?
-5. Good. All right, great. Put these cards back into your little baggie.
Did y'all get nice, colorful baggies too?
Yeah, everyone has a Frozen baggie.
I got
It's a
full
little
of
bit
them.
old.
What?
No, Frozen never gets old.
Do you want to build a snowman?
Come on, let's go and play.
Yes!
I never see you anymore. Just come out the door.
It's like you've gone away.
We
All right.
used to be best buddies.
And now we're not. I wish you would tell me
My
why.
little cousin probably watched that movie no less than like 500 times.
All right.
My cousins watch that like 12 times a day.
That was a
So.
great film.
We've done our warm-up. We reviewed last week. We did our notes. We did our sort. Next time I'm going to pass out the homework.
We bowling.
We are bowling, man, okay? And I'm going to go over the directions for this assignment.
Miss Galsey, I didn't see you at my game on Friday. I was disappointed.
Well, I told you I wasn't going to be able to come.
I was there.
I know, but I thought you were gonna jump out and surprise us.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was babysitting and bringing the 2 girls to basketball practice, so I didn't have time to make the game.
It's fine. It's fine. You were not there.
Yes, it was.
You weren't.
I was there for the first game and then I left.
Refocus. Okay, refocus. Please put your names at the top. What's going on with my iPad?
Are you coming to our game this Thursday? The girls' game?
Maybe.
I have a game.
Only because I know I don't have anything going on Thursday right now. So.
I have a game 3.5 hours
Oh,
away
computer too.
on Wednesday.
I have one
Here we go.
this week and one next week.
All right. Off the basketball topic, we're now focused on slope again. So for these directions, this side is going to literally take you a minute, not even. Okay, it says find the slope and y-intercept from the following equation of straight lines.
We have to write that like with under a 1, right? Like the before O under 1.
I'm going to go over it in a moment. Okay. So another word for straight though is linear. Great. So for this first equation, it says y equals 4x plus 2. What is the slope of that equation? 4. So 4 goes here. What's the y-intercept? 2. Let me ask you this. Does x get included with the slope?
No.
No. X is not a part of the slope. X is the input. So if you remember back to Unit 3, that's the value we substitute a number in for. Okay?
Wait, so what about with the third one?
We always rooted last year.
Yeah. So with number 3,
It would be 1.
the slope would be 1 because we always assume that X has a coefficient of 1 if it's not written.
For 2 for the y-intercept, it would be -1.
For
The
which
second
one?
Second y-intercept.
Right here?
No, top second.
Yeah, well, it's written. What about down here, though? These ones are a little bit trickier. What's the y-intercept of this one?
0.
Y.
It's on origin, so we don't know.
Right, it's not written, so we assume it's 0. This one we do not assume is 1, we assume it's 0. What about this one? Does this one have a slope?
No, it's undefined.
It's not, well, yes, it is undefined, but we know that there's no slope.
Oh, it's
Actually,
0.
This is not undefined. This is not undefined.
So it's not a 0.
But because is there an X?
No.
No. So that means there's 0x. So if there's 0, it's technically a 0 line. So it's
Oh, it's like right on the origin.
right. Well, it's not right on the origin. It's horizontal. Okay, so the slope here is 0. But what's the y-intercept?
-3.
-3. All right. Flip this page over. So on the back here, we have graphs, and each of them has either a different equation or a different setup to give you the slope and the y-intercept. We're going to practice with number 2. All right. So with number 2, what do I plot first again?
The y-intercept.
The y-intercept. What's the y-intercept here?
7.
No. Number 2.
Oh, number 2.
Number 2.
-3.
-3. So on -3, so 1, 2, 3, I'm going to plot a point. Pierce with a nail. What do I do next?
Oh my goodness, what?
So we're on number 2.
I know.
I've plotted my y-intercept.
I know.
Okay. So what do I do next?
Would you go over 5 and up 2?
So height over width.
Oh, so up 5 and over 2.
Great. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the right 2. There's my second point. Connect them with a line. Again, your line should have arrows at the end of it. All right. Once you're done with number 2, put this in your homework folder
Lovely.
and take out your challenge problem, please.
Aren't they due tomorrow?
They are.
There is.
They is.